nurses, it's Lorie Brown, nurse attorney with yournurseattorney.com and empowerednurses.org with the Hey Nurses, What's Next? How 21 nurses became business owners and successful entrepreneurs. And today I'm really excited to introduce you to a woman who loves genealogy and family history, and she writes heirloom cookbooks called Generations of Love, Life, and Laughter. And what she is doing is she is helping the next generation of nurse business owners through the NNBA, which stands for the National Nurses in Business Association. And she's also known as the unconventional nurse as well. So welcome, Michelle.
Hi, Lorie. How you doing today?
Great. Thank you so much for being here. I think almost a vast majority of our speakers discuss NNBA, so now everybody gets to hear what it's all about. So welcome. But first, let me tell you a little bit about Michelle. Michelle Podlesni, RN, is the unconventional nurse, and her book is called The Unconventional Nurse, Going from Burnout to Bliss. And she is the president of the National Nurses in Business Association and CEO and president of Bloom Service Group, LLC. She's an accomplished businesswoman, U.S. Navy veteran, and nurse with over 30 years experience with from clinical care, case management, and healthcare information technology. She's also a nationally known speaker, best-selling author, and serial entrepreneur. She has a proven track record of C-suite leadership success, having managed startups and established multi-million-dollar software as a service companies, serving Fortune 500 clients. And Michelle is widely recognized and respected authority in business and has been coaching managers and executives for the past 20 years. And I am so excited to have her. Michelle speaks nationally on entrepreneurship through the NNBA annual conference on nurse entrepreneurship, which is in the fall. And our next NNBA conference will be September 25th through 27th of 2020. So please get this in your calendar because it is a must go to. This conference is the best nurse entrepreneurship and probably the only one that I have been to, but she attracts the highest quality speakers, many of which you've seen in this video series. And I am just absolutely thrilled. It's my honor and my privilege to have Michelle on today's show. So welcome, Michelle.
Well, thank you, Lorie. It's my pleasure to be here.
I actually had to cut out some of her bio because I would be here all day reading it because she's just done amazing things. So I can't wait to let you hear from her. So Michelle, how is it that you decided to start your business?
Well, which one? I mean, there's many. I've actually been a nurse in business for the last 30 years. So it's various types of businesses. First, I was an intrapreneur, and then I became an entrepreneur, going out on our own. So if you want to talk about the businesses I have today.
Yeah, I want to talk about unconventional nurses and NNBA.
Yes. So there's three forms of businesses that I have right now. I'm a consultant for a software company in California, and I have been for the last 10 years. I also wrote Unconventional Nurse, Going from Burnout to Bliss, and so with that, did workshops and coaching and still continue to do that. And then because of the success of Unconventional Nurse, that's actually what leveraged the NNBA happening, where the past president approached me and asked me to take it over. So that was 5 years ago. So with the NNBA, we're a mission-driven organization. We encourage nurse entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs to start, grow, manage their own business. We find opportunities locally and nationally for nurses in business. And we provide that education and networking arena. So that's about the conference right there, is that education and networking arena one time a year in the fall right now, that is just growing bigger and better and more interesting as nurses really are taking the lead in reframing their role out there in the marketplace.
Great. Well, maybe you can educate our audience right now, because what's the difference between an entrepreneur and an entrepreneur?
Well, an entrepreneur is someone who might be in a traditional setting, but creates either a service, product, or program within that setting that drives a stream of revenue. So, to give you an example, I worked for a company out of Atlanta years ago called Crawford and Company. Crawford and Company hired a medical director to create this program inside their company that they never had before, and I was assigned to be the liaison between the programmers and the medical personnel. And in that role, we created different service units within that company they never had before. So we drove $8 million in revenue over the next 2 years within an organization that was intrapreneurial.
I see.
Entrepreneurism is when you're taking that risk yourself. That financial risk is yours, and you're looking to start, grow, and manage a new product, service, or program. Does not have to be innovative. It needs to be new, improved, or innovative. And you do that on your own. And so you're looking at driving your own income streams.
Well, Michelle has done an amazing job growing the NNBA as well. When it was, the president was somebody else, I was the keynote speaker, and it was much smaller, and it has grown by leaps and bounds with Michelle's leadership. You've done an amazing job. And it's a wonderful avenue for people to connect and get support, because as you said, Michelle, you're helping a new generation.
It is. It's so interesting. What was years ago, when I started in the business world, there was pharma, where nurses were selling pharmaceuticals. There was managed care, insurance companies, maybe a little bit of home health, some private duty nursing. So many businesses have spurned off and grown in the entrepreneur space. Back when I was doing case management, there wasn't a case management society. So, and legal nurse consulting, those things haven't been around all that long, just a few decades at most.
Right, yeah.
And it's growing, but now it's even more exciting. Our Shark Tank competition this year, it was our 5th Shark Tank competition, and we had medical device wearables, we had brand new type of service models that the nurse was going to franchise, new education in CPR delivery modes, and then our winner with cardiac transitional care, which is a whole field, new because of the new legislation on readmissions and CHF, all that type of thing. So I love seeing all the new things that are generated.
So for those of you who don't know, the NNBA Shark Tank competition, if you have a product or service that you would like to get support in promoting, be on the Shark Tank. It's just like the real show, but just nursing products and services. So it's a blast. And it's amazing how creative the nurses are and what they come up with.
Absolutely.
So let's talk about what types of businesses have you seen now nurses who become business owners have? Unlike, I know LNCs have been around for a couple decades in case management, but what are the new kind of interesting ones that nurses do?
Let's talk about LNCs and case management just a little bit, because what's happening today is more driven by some nomenclature, such as patient advocacy. So it's very similar in certain ways to case management and LNC work. but it's driven by different titling. And patient advocacy, gosh, there is such a variety of ways that nurses are using it. What I used to do, I don't have this company anymore, but I used to have Patient Advocate Group Enterprise. I called it PAGE, and it was providing the same fraud and abuse detection that we used with Fortune 500 companies for the average person's medical bill. And we did that for a few years. So that's a patient advocate type business. Mm-hmm. There is different coaching, nurse coaching in a variety of ways that's happening today. I get real excited about technology. And so, in fact, one of our exhibitors had a wonderful software application for case management, patient advocacy, and legal nurse consulting. And it was just a really great, MyJuna was the name of the software. So I get real excited when I see nurses getting more in the technical space. I've had nurses already approach me. See, it's only been 2 weeks since the conference, and I haven't written up the Shark Tank competition yet because I'm waiting for some pictures. I should, in the next week or two, get that out there. But one of our nurses, Rhonda Adams, had a cardiac smartwatch, and it was fascinating. So it's just great to see this. So let's say a diabetic nurse. Well, besides education, now one of the nurses is doing foot care type clinics, mobile foot care clinics, and traveling, and looking to possibly franchise her business. So it's very, very exciting. And so the key is, in looking ahead, if you want to look ahead, you've got to look at the legislation of what's going on as to what the need will be. And that's why cardiac transitional care services did so well, because it capitalized in watching the patient when they get home, the cardiac patients, and ensuring they don't have readmissions within 30 days, because that takes away from reimbursement from the hospital. Oh. So those things are so exciting. It's just a lot of different things.
That's really neat, really interesting. Nurses are, I always say that they have the best skills in the world to be business owners, because we have the critical thinking skills, we have prioritization and judgment, and we have great patient care interactions. So we are
the biggest thing, nurses are problem solvers.
Yes.
And that's exactly what entrepreneurs are. They go out there and solve problems. So a lot of times people will say, well, how do I figure out what to do? How do I start a business? And first of all, everybody has a unique background, knowledge, and education that they bring. So they have that value right there. The important thing is solve a problem. Solve a problem. And because, all of us get paid by the value we bring to the marketplace. So keep that in mind. A lot of times, though, nurses don't even know they're in business. This is the thing that is fun during the week a lot when I'm doing phone calls. They'll tell me about a project they're working on, and then they'll go, is there a business in this? And I immediately say, yes, there is. You're doing it for someone. You're solving that problem or need. Like so many times nurses will do a project at the hospital or at the clinic. Maybe they write some procedures or policies. And then somebody hears about it and say, could you do that for me in my department? Well, yes, you can. And then you have your business, so they don't understand sometimes what customer catalysts are. And it shows up in what they're doing. So what people come to you for help with is usually what makes a good business.
Yep, you're solving somebody else's problem. And
Yes,
obviously there's a need for that, or they wouldn't be asking you for it.
exactly.
So what was your biggest mistake in your businesses, any of them? And how did you, yeah, everybody laughs at that one. And
So many.
how did you overcome them? Or what did you learn from them?
You know what? I'll tell you what. And I did this presentation of business lessons learned in the trenches and what works, what doesn't. I did that this past year. So
Oh,
this is what I always tell people about fear. Fear isn't something you overcome. Fear is something that hits you routinely with each new challenge you put on yourself, right?
right.
So I always tell people, you don't really overcome fear, you just start to be comfortable being uncomfortable. And I wrote about that. And also I recommend a book I read years ago that was very good, by Susan Jeffers, Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway.
Mm.
And that's really, I mean, gosh, mistakes, that's a whole separate program right there. I could just tell you all the different mistakes I've made, all them. One of the biggest mistakes I made was not understanding numbers, not understanding how to negotiate. I've lost a lot of money not feeling comfortable talking about numbers. So I always work with nurses in becoming comfortable speaking about numbers. And Lorie, you did a program for the NNBA a couple years ago that was really popular about money.
Yeah.
And it's important for nurses to feel comfortable speaking about money.
Yeah, we need to reframe our thinking about money, because right now we come with the hospital. There's no separate charge for nursing service. We're billed with the room like dietary and housekeeping, and that's got to change. But what happens is, as a nurse, we're dependent on the hospital for our paycheck. And when it's time for us to go out and make our own paycheck, which gives us the best freedom, we don't feel valuable about what we do, because it may come really easy to us. But you are valuable, and you should charge for your services, and of what you're worth, and not how easy it is for you, but what is the value of it? How many lives do you save because of what you do? How many lives do you enhance?
And nurses just we all do this, we all tend to discount our own value.
Yeah.
We see others very easily. And so sometimes I've heard it said, you can't read the label from inside the jar. So sometimes you need somebody else to help you along. I know I do that a lot with coaching. And it's just, you have to have somebody else be able to look at the label from the outside.
Yes. Definitely. And I call fear an acronym for false evidence appearing real.
Absolutely.
Because fear is not real. We're not going to be eaten by tigers or anything these days. It's just our own mind that is causing us to feel that way.
I agree with you.
So what advice would you have for a nurse who wants to leave their traditional role and start their own business?
Well, the biggest advice that I give, and it happened with me, and it happens with a lot of other people I know, just try new things. And that's the hard part, right? We're comfortable. We have this paradigm of how we see everything. So it's frightening to try new things. However, in trying the new things, that's what gives you the learning. That's what gives you the illumination of maybe what's out there. Because believe me, when I left for the Navy at 18 years old, I never thought that one day that I'd be running software companies.
Mm-hmm.
It was because when I was burned out, having worked 10 years at the bedside, that I looked at trying something different. I had no idea. I got hired by a large group health insurer, and that environment is what taught me about computers. And it was the first time I fell in love. Did I know I'd like working with computers and healthcare data analysis? No, not at all. I tried something new. And it brought a whole complete pivot to my nursing world.
And I think sometimes nurses are stuck in the way, well, we've always done it this way. And when new things come out, we're afraid, we don't want to change, but it always, most of the time, hopefully it'll improve things. And nursing research, like a lot of things that were like betadine on wounds, we used to do that until the research came out. No, it doesn't work anymore.
Right. No, it's an amazing process, but for personal, and I don't care what it is. I don't care if somebody's working in a traditional role, if they are not feeling fulfillment any longer in that role, it's not time to leap. I'm not a big proponent of leaping. I believe in small steps, percolating on ideas, but try some new things. Try a new course, read a new book, hang out with a new group. We have a lot of nurses that are still in the traditional setting that come to NNBA's meeting and they discover a whole world.
Yes.
So it allows them to go slowly, but understand what's out there and feel more comfortable. Because my thing is, with all the mergers and acquisitions that are taking place, where hospitals are becoming nothing more than big conglomerations,
yeah,
there is redundancy and nurses are being let go. And in that case, you got to have that plan B. You've got to have that backup.
And the automation is doing us out of a job. EICU.
That's true. That's true. Telehealth. I mean, there's been a couple. I have to look at the result of this, but I know of a couple cardiac intensive care units that have telehealth monitoring to help the nurses there go to the patient versus the hands-on knowing. It's interesting. A lot of things are happening.
Yeah, in fact, I heard about one ER that does not have physicians. It has a nurse who can do the assessment, but the doctor is watching on the monitor and tells the nurse what to do. Doesn't even go lay hands on a patient.
A lot of things are changing. Lots of things. And it also is changing then for nurses to pay attention to that love the bedside, that love clinical, which is wonderful. We need that, obviously, but it also gives them the idea of, okay, where do I want to maybe specialize or advance my education in as far as where the need is in that traditional setting.
Yeah, definitely. And, Psych NP is all virtual now too.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, it's definitely changing. So, well, thank you so much, Michelle. I so appreciate you being here. And if you're interested in checking out the NNBA, it's nnbanow.com. And we'd love to have you join us in 2020. And Michelle, you are just so full of wisdom. I could speak with you all day, but and I just want to thank you so much for being here.
Oh, you're welcome. It is definitely my pleasure.
Okay. Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Bye.